I could have written a play, but I thought sometimes a play is limited because it makes you feel that I'm not talking to you directly. I'm actually talking just to the world out there somewhere. And I thought, but no, if I actually look at you, even if I'm reading something, and I actually talk about events that you know about, and I talk about people you might know about, even if they're not mentioned by name, then you have a different level of engagement. Now you have to, there's no wall between you and me now. Now as a spectator, you're actually listening to what I'm saying and saying, is that me? Is that the guy next to me, the person next to me, or is that my, you know? And that was important to me to create theater, but to create it the way our parents do around a kitchen table. Issues are talked about while we eat. The oral tradition of storytelling, our parents have always been phenomenal storytellers. And in the middle of a story, another story comes in, maybe a family argument, and then another great funny story about something, and it happens effortlessly. You know, there's no effort in it. And there's nobody that says, hold on, I'm going to do a show for you. No, it just happens. And somehow we've lost that happening of telling stories, and we over-prepare ourselves to impress each other with a very controlled story, to the ridiculous point that some of my friends who've come to listen to the letters would sit there and saying, oh, before you start, how do you want me to listen to this? I said, what do you mean? Well, do you want me to listen to it with, like, as a person, as an actor, as a director, as a writer, as a critic? I thought, what about with your ears? I mean, I'm just thinking here. Maybe your ears are enough. But no, they needed to be told how to perceive what had yet to be perceived. And you go, what? This is like having a date with somebody and you know that you're going to one day marry, and saying, I'm just curious, how are we going to live our married life? I don't know. We're not married yet. I mean, after we're married, then we see how that evolves. So it's this thing about, and I don't know if it's television or the way we even broadcast TV, that people know the info before you watch the episode. But there's something about the control that we feel we need to understand what we are getting into before we get into it. But that's not interesting to me. I mean, what's interesting about sitting around the table with my father, my parents, my uncles, whether I like some of them or not, or liked more than others, was the beautiful spontaneity of it all. You know? The fact that there was that element of life that happens, that where somebody comes in the middle of supper time, did you eat? Yeah, I don't want to eat. No, did you eat? Yeah, no, I don't want to eat. Well, here's a plate. Well, all right, I did eat, but I'm going to eat later, but yeah, all right, I'll have this too. And then he joins the conversation, and you don't plan that kind of stuff. And if you plan that, and then you plan theater, and everybody knows, then what's the surprise? What's the point? Like, just put it in a manual, read it before you go to bed at night, and we don't even need to talk to each other.
It's verbal jazz. It reminds me of a great medieval book, The Decameron by Boccaccio, because he also challenges all the stereotypes, everything, every image of society, all the powerful people in society. Boccaccio takes it all apart and makes fun. And Tony does the same. I thought it was a great piece. I'm coming back.
As the idea of spaces came about, I thought, well, maybe I should keep the sort of the flow of how this, for lack of a better word, rehearsal, and how these impromptu readings happened, where we just move. And then I thought, well, the good thing about that too is that I might access people, different people, in each venue. To expect people that would go to Columbus Center to go to the Factory Theatre, even though with the Modosua, like 15 years ago, there was a concerted effort to bring the Italian community to the mainstream part of Toronto to watch theater, and I thought that was important. But now I thought, you know what? It's maybe important to just go into the areas where we did the readings and to see the different people that come to those events, to that gathering. And the other thing that I liked about it, because they're letters, and it wasn't a production like, there's only me. I mean, in fact, if there's only 50 people, if there are only 50, I'll say, please come closer, let's get, this is not about you standing back there and me having to present something to you. It's about a sharing in that way. And I thought it'd be interesting to do it the way, traveling groups used to do it. You go to the place, you say what you have to say, and then you move on to the next place. And And I think I was also, somewhere in the back of my mind, I'm thinking that in this conspiracy of silence where we're so afraid to talk, if you stay put in one place, there's a feeling that people define you by the space that you're in, and that somehow dictates what you're going to say and who you are. So if you go to Columbus Center and you stay there, people say, well, if the whole entire thing is at Columbus Center, I'm getting a feeling about that. I'm getting an idea about what that might be. But the minute you take it to some other place, we go, oh, now, okay, it's not that. Now it's, what? Now it's the film center. Oh my God, now it's... So people constantly have to rethink what it might be, as opposed to saying, I have the knowledge of where it's at, so I have a knowledge of you before I even know what you're going to say. First of all, I don't expect anything. I just know that if I do what I do, which is theater, which is performing, which is communicating, I was interested in communicating this. Anything that happens after can't be done by just... I mean, if I could foresee what people would say, then probably there would be no reason to write it. The fact is that I think that it needs people just to discuss it. I mean, to me, the important thing is to open a debate, which I seem to have with a lot of artists and actors, especially in bars, but we somehow don't bring that debate to the rehearsal and on the stage. You know, we don't bring it to the stage. We don't bring it in the arena. We become very good little boys and girls, and it seems that we pride ourselves in being very good little boys and girls. But in the tradition, again, of commedia, where Arlecchino is a demon, a devil, a small devil. In fact, he has the broken horn on his mask. I mean, the idea of Arlecchino is to basically reflect to the audience listening to him what he sees. And sometimes he does it in very pointed ways. But the notion of a devil, or the notion of the person who provokes, the shit disturber, is sort of lacking in our society. And that's what theater did. You know, and I do say in the letter, we don't need cathedrals of consumption. We need to put a devil wherever we built one. Wherever we build one, we need to put somebody who says, ah, what are we doing here? Or else we lose our critical thinking. So open the debate is the best thing. I mean, that's the... I mean, I did an interview with a journalist who said, "Oh, it's not, what are you doing? What are you doing other than this?" As if in theater, as if doing a play now. And I'm thinking, what is a play? A play. Let's take any play. Ibsen's Enemy of the People. It's a play about telling you that you should stand on your own 2 feet, even against a hostile majority. Have the courage to stand by your principles and your convictions, even if it means death. So that's the play by Ibsen. So what's the point of doing the play by Ibsen if the people who do the play by Ibsen are doing it because Walkerton, contaminated water? I think it's a good time to do Ibsen's Enemy of the People because it discusses, I think, contaminated water or something like that. And I'm thinking, no, the play's not about contaminated water at all. If you look at Ibsen, what he's talking about regardless of what you're doing, make sure you take a stand on your principles because you will have a majority who'll go against you. And then you go to Mark Twain. Every time you find yourself that you're part of the majority, it's time to reform. And you go, these are the great writers that we send children to school to learn about, only to then graduate and commit the same sins that actually provoke those writers to write those stories. What are we doing? So I said to that journalist, no, this is, to me, this is the act of theater. You share a story that you know why you're talking about it, or at least from your point of view, it's your truth. It doesn't have to be everyone's truth. And you hope that people somehow are open and receptive to debating it. They don't have to agree with me, but debate it.
I feel that he was very courageous in doing what he does, because he basically presents a pretty bleak picture of the state of theater in Canada, among other things. And I thought that was courageous and somewhat suicidal in a way. And he was he expressed the opinion that maybe in a society that was ruled by dictatorship, it would be a courageous act. But in our society, where we have freedom of speech, it is our duty. It's the least that we can do. So
I kind of found myself caught between a rock and a hard place when we asked for funding from agencies like arts councils, you know, because there is the idea out there that it's okay to talk about family. It's okay for me to talk about my family. For example, when I do a play, I mean, theater people love that we expose our dirty laundry. That's how we heal in society. Or any film. Look at a film. I mean, Fellini's 8½. What is it? An investigation of his own limits. As a person director who realizes he's come to a point, doesn't know what else to do. It's an autobiography in a sense, right? It's okay to do that, but the minute you turn the camera or you turn the focus on the family of people who create cinema or who create theater, then it's, well, you can't do that. So you know that you're applying for grants, and the people who are going to adjudicate are people doing what you do and saying, oh, this is an attack on us, or it's a, So that leaves you vulnerable because you stand or live by their decision. And at the same time, I have both a love for that funding situation in Canada, but I also have a hatred for how it is being used and how sometimes councils dictate policy. I mean, there was one council that asked, what's your artistic statement? I thought, wow, you would have to ask. In Quebec, nobody would ever ask an artist, an actor, writer, why are you doing what you do? There's the assumption that you're doing it because you love life and you love telling stories and you have something to say. In English Canada, obviously, we do it for other reasons. Maybe, I don't know. So you need to ask, but do you have a reason here to live? Do you have a reason to want to say the story? Oh, you know what, I didn't. Let me think about that one. Oh, thank you. And so I said to one of the councils, well, 2 letters is an artist statement. And in fact, so much so that I hope that maybe in the future an arts council will not have to put that question in its application. And I also took to task Tele-Latino in the letter. And so now, in the documentary way that I'm developing the letters, I will keep the line in, but also keep that, to the credit of Tele-Latino, they supported the project, which is extremely important, but not asking the performer, the artist, to remove his opinion. Because if we do that, then there's no point doing anything. I mean, you and I have to be able to critique each other on our points of views, but know that we're still in the same boat. And the critiquing does not become a way of trying to make you irrelevant, but it's a way of making each other more relevant, if that makes any sense. Or else, we're not in a democracy.
I believe that this type of performance touches base on anything in life. I think anybody can relate to it. Doesn't matter what kind of walk of life you come from, or what age you are, or what kind of stuff you do in your life, or what you do as far as your career. I think this kind of talk really opens up a lot of discussion about the Italian culture and Italian Canadians in specific. So I thought it was very, very well said, and very dramatic and entertaining as well. So it was great.
Thank you. Merci. Thank you. Have a good night.
You too.
Thank you.
Very welcome.